Hi everybody, it's Cindy from Vintage to New, and I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to continue working in our book, and so we are going to do, this is a little envelope, double envelope, and I'll show you how I did it. But like I said, we have two signatures and we want our things to coordinate, but match, but not exactly the same. We want them to rhyme. So that's what we're going to do today. So quick note on this one, this little tag that I did here, if you notice, I put a dictionary definition on it right here. And I wanted to give you a couple tips. I have several different dictionaries. All right. I used this one first, and I cut out happiness, and it was just too big. The definition stretched too far for the tag. So I pulled out my other dictionary, and the pages are smaller, so the columns of where the definition fits is much smaller, and it fit just perfectly. So there's that one. I used one of the little T cards, and then I love putting cheesecloth. It's something you can get anywhere. It's not expensive. It just takes a little tiny bit to really add a lot. If you'll notice up here, it's got a lot of texture with it, which is really fun. This is just a piece of, right there, you can see that I built this on a piece of brown paper. Mine came in a package, and it's nice thin brown paper. I've heard that you can buy it on rolls at like Lowe's or at Staples for packaging material. So I used my brown paper. I put a piece of cheesecloth, a little piece of lace, my image, and then I sewed, and I put in this little piece because I knew I wanted to attach this with this little pin. And I sewed around it a couple times with my sewing machine. I used white thread. I wanted it to show, but not to be as obvious as black thread. I love the black thread look, and I've done that lots and lots of times. But this one, I just wanted it to be like it is. And then I attached a ribbon in the back, because this is going to get glued into our book. And then this little ribbon, it's actually seam, what's it called? It's not bias tape, seam binding. It's what you use in sewing when you're doing a Hong Kong seam and you want to encase your seams in the clothing you're making. And so it's really lightweight, very soft, almost silky, and it's really cheap. So I bought mine on Amazon. I got a pink, a beige, and a green, and that seems to do everything that I need to do. So there's that. So without delay, let's see how I did this. And like I said, the one we're going to make is going to be slightly different, but it's going to rhyme. You'll see the whole technique. So the basis for that envelope, or for that pocket, was two envelopes pushed together like this. You just stick one inside the other down to where the fold is right here. Pretty cool, huh? But before we do that, I want to cover my envelopes. So this time, instead of using book page, I'm going to use dictionary page. Then I don't really have to worry at all about what the book says. That book that I used over there, it was, Conquering the West or something, and it was a little more, I don't know. I just didn't care for it after I put it on there. Should have paid more attention when they started. So what I'm going to do is use this dictionary page. This is Guide to Correct Business English. It's before the words even started. So I'm just going to take some glue and I'm going to put glue all around the outside edge and then just a little bit right here, making sure that I get close to the edge. And then I'm going to glue it on with the straight edge right here, just to make it easy, but not going over the fold part. So there's that, pretty easy. And then what I want to do is I'm just going to fold this up over the edge. So it's the old trick of you just cut the corners at an angle, like so. It doesn't have to be this big. And put some glue on here. I moved my camera back a little and I think I need to move it back up. Okay, so just a little glue on the sides, like that. And then just fold these up. And if you have a bone folder or, you know, your scissors, whatever you've got, smush it down. You don't necessarily have to do this folding over bit, but I like that it gives a good edge all around. You don't have that cut edge right at the edge. So there's that. So let's do the other one just the same. Nice and quick. I hope that you've been taking time to go check out some of the other artists that do these books. It's really fun to see how many people do it. That's fun. It's also fun to see how everybody has a completely different style, and you can be doing the same thing. Like, you guys will be doing this exact same thing, but your style will be completely different than mine, which is kind of nice. You know, it's just learning a technique, and with that technique you build your own style. So that's really fun. And I'm trying very hard to give you alternatives to going out and just buying a whole ton of stuff to get started, because you don't really have to. Like I've said in videos before, I definitely recommend a couple of dictionaries, so you can see having different sizes is really nice. Different colors. The bigger dictionary of mine is lighter and very lightweight paper. This is more of a cottony feel paper, and it's really yellow. And then the third dictionary I bought, remember I talked about, it's gorgeous and it was huge, but it's rotten. So be careful with what you buy. You don't want paper that's so brittle that when you use it, it cracks and breaks and causes all kinds of trouble, which is what that other dictionary is. All right, so there's that. Hooray. All right, so now you see that I've covered up my envelope part here. And so the way I did it before, this is the seam binding. It's Hug Snug. But anyway, I like the shape of that circle, the size of that circle. And I had a pencil. Hold on. It was hiding behind my ruler. All right, so I'm going to just decide how far down do I want to go with this. Remember, the sides of the envelope came out to about there. And I think I want to go down about that far, and I'm just going to use a really light pencil mark right there. Now I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to try to do it in one swoop so I can use this for a pattern. And just cut. Try to go on the outside of the line, just so that you're not leaving pencil behind, but it's such a light pencil, you could go back and erase it. So there's that one. So now I'm going to use this one over here. So I'm going to center it up, just eyeball it, get it pretty close, use it to mark. Sorry that that was a little bit low. Like I said, I think I'm going to have to move my camera back. So there it is. And this one does have a little bit of pencil mark. So I'm just going to give it a slight erase. Okay, hold on just a second while I adjust my camera. Okay, I think that'll be just a little bit better. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to cover the back side of one side, and you need to decide where you want to put it in your journal. So let's look at our finished one here. This one will go on a page that's on the right hand side to be right side up. If you want it on the left hand side, and if you want it to open this way, you need to think about that. But I tend to put things on the right, so I'm only going to decorate the front because the back is going to get glued in, and I'll show you how we're going to do that in a minute. So looking at this, if I make it the same, see how that looks nice? Okay. I am going to only be doing this side. So here's what we're going to do for this. We're going to go around the edge here, like that, and along this crease in the center, like that. And then put my paper on close to the edge, but it doesn't necessarily have to go over, because remember, that's a nice edge already right there. All right, so now we're just going to turn our envelope on the side, and we're going to just trim it up nice and close without cutting that. So just like that, that's done. And then I'm just going to tack down this little piece right here, so there's no chance that I'll have any of the envelope showing when I do my next steps. There we go. We don't need that there. All right. So here's our front. Looks really nice. Still very flat. In this one, I lined it with a piece of paper, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So it's just a piece of 6x6 paper that you buy in a tablet. I'm going to just mark where I want to cut it. Give it a quick little cut. Find my mark. Here we go. And then I'll take it apart, just checking out to make sure it's the right size before I put any glue on it. And just put this down in this side here. Now I have one thing to say. If you're ever working, putting paper inside of an envelope like this, in my fairy journal that I did, I made one mistake in the envelope setup that I did, which was different than this one. but the edge of the envelope ended here on the inside. So every time you went to put something in the pocket, it got hung up on that lip that's down there. So if you're doing that, put a piece of Scotch tape or something across that lip so that when you slide it in, it's not going to get hung up on something down there. But this one is fine because we're always going to be sliding in on top. Does that make sense? It goes that way. I hope that makes sense. So anyway, looks great. So let's go ahead and glue this together. So we're just going to put glue on our paper and the back of the envelope like that. And then we're just going to take it and we're going to hold it with our thumb so it can't slide back in. And we're going to just take it and smush it down in there. And the glue is going to get drug along, but that's all right. And you just do it till it closes. Leave yourself just a little bit of a gap there. And then give it a fold. Make sure everything is still nice and good. And there we have it. So our envelope is already done. So when I did the lace on the other one, before I put this little piece in the center here, I just covered it in lace. And then when I did my cutting, I cut out, let me start again. I put the paper on, I cut the paper, put the lace on it, and then I cut the lace because you could see where to cut through the lace. Okay, so that's the only difference that we're doing. And on this one, I had a really nice piece of border lace that I used and put the border on the outside, of course. So there's that. All right, so now we get to embellish, which is the really fun part. So we need to audition things that we want to put on the front of our envelope. Okay, I pulled out some things for us to look at. Remember I told you to get some music that doesn't have words. This is an organ book, current, so I just ripped a page out of that. This is a piece of sheet music that I had that I just took a photograph of the front of it and then used my Photoshop to make it the right size and printed it out on tea-dyed paper, and it came out really modeled like this. I really like it. Colors are kind of similar to what we have already. This was also a piece of sheet music, same thing. And then this is that old magazine that I have, but that's just too close to the same, so I say no to that one. My goal is to use one of these little cards that's in our kit. So there's this little boy looking at his garden packets. Some ladies doing some hand sewing. A beautiful image of the front of a house from the inside. Let's see. Another inviting home. Mother and daughter in the garden, and this little girl at the gate. And I think I'm going to pick her. I like the colors and I love the subject, so we'll just start with that one. So that's going to take up that much of the front, so we don't need a ton. I think I'm going to wait on both of those because I might still like to use a flower that we have. Let's rip up some of this music and see what we've got. Now this music is really white, so we'll have to take care of that. I just think there should be music everywhere. So we have that. Should we add some of the texture of the cheesecloth? I think yes. Okay, ladies, you'll relate to this. I can't find my fabric scissors. Oh, man. The joke is I've spent 2 years of my life looking for my scissors. And I don't know how I can lose them. But I'm kind of in sad shape. My paper scissors hardly barely cut paper or cut fabric anymore. So let's just put a little music in here. Let's cut this off. Whenever you're using cheesecloth, cut it much bigger than you could ever imagine that you're going to use, because it just shrinks up when you're gluing it down. I don't know. A couple times on me, it's been almost a disaster. So just always give yourself lots and lots of cheesecloth, because it's inexpensive and you can always trim it off. So let's just ink this up so it's not so white. And when I bought my cheesecloth, I bought a natural color. So I didn't dye it or anything. It's just a natural, unbleached color, which is very helpful. One more thing you didn't have to do. So instantly, look, vintage music. All right, so there's that. There's that. This is still kind of blending in a little bit. So here's some of that brown paper I was talking about. So let's just rip one that would be a little bigger than our... This paper is really funny. It has a grain to it. It's hard to rip. So like when I go to rip it back this way, it's going to want to rip in a straight line. Yeah, you get what you pay for. It was free. So I would think a brown paper bag would work really well also. It would be a little heavier though. Okay, so that's a nice outline. Hope you can see that. Maybe I'll zoom you in just a tiny bit. So you can see the outline of the paper. And so I would put the paper and then the cheesecloth and the music behind. And then it's going to rhyme because I use the same lace in the last one we did that I showed you. So I'll put this little piece of lace down here at the bottom. And we'll see what it looks like on our card envelopes. I like it, but it could still use just a little bit more. You know, I'm going to... Should I use my green on this one, or should I use this cream? The cream is still a little bright, but we can tone it down a little. There's not a lot of green. Well, there's some. I'm going to use the green. All right, so I'm going to put a little green back behind here. Something like that. So I like that little collage of things. So now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and just sew around it. Sorry I couldn't take you over, but if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I have a really old white sewing machine. I call her Betty White. Anyway, she weighs so much. She's got to be 30 pounds plus. And I just can't pick her up and fling her over here very easy. So I think all of you have seen somebody sew a straight line. So that's all I did. So after I get it sewn, that's when I start to kind of fray it out a little bit. And to help it fray more, you can just kind of pull it down. Get it nice and ratty looking. Who doesn't love ratty looking? I do. All right, so let's get all this extra stuff out of the way. All right, so here she is, and I had already antiqued her, so I didn't forget. And I'm going to put just a little on the lace, even though it's kind of a beigey lace. Just kind of give it a little zhuzh. Okay, so, and then I need to do it on here. So we need to go around all the edges, paying special attention to the outside edges. So there's that, and we'll do the inside while we're at it. And then just kind of hold this up a little. I should have maybe done it before I attached it, but we can make it work. And you could always do this. It probably wouldn't hurt anything to get a little antiquing on the antique paper that's on the inside, so that's all right. I think part of any project is just making do with what you've got, being creative, and if you forget a step or something, is just make it work. Does anybody watch the fashion show with Tim Gunn, and he's always walking in and telling them, make it work? All right, so there we go. That looks really nice on the inside. Here's our front. So now I'm just gonna glue this piece on the front here. Now remember, I'm gonna be attaching the ribbon like we had on the other one, so I want to push this up so that I can put the ribbon across about here. All right. The other thing I'm gonna do is the crocheted lace tends to want to really ravel. So if we're not getting it all tucked in as we do our project, we need to do something to the end of it, or it's just gonna come undone. You can use fray check, which I have, or you can just put the tiniest little dot of your Fabri-Tac on the end to keep it from going. All right, so there's that. Now I'm going to cut the ribbon. I'm going to cut it really long. Oops, my magnet. Put this out of the way. And to glue this on the back, turn it over. Decide about where I want it to be, which is below the middle for this one, about right there. Make sure I have plenty of ribbon left over on both sides. Push it down. Okay, because I had glue on the front and I didn't want it sticking to my board. So now I'm going to push that down, and when I tie it, it will be nice down here. All right, so we're going to set this one aside, and we're going to put this one in our signature. So let's take a look and see where we're at. So far, we've clipped this one in, but that could be moved, and this was another project we still may or may not do. That's our little envelope that we added yesterday. Pretty. The Bishop's Comedy. This was out of that really old magazine. I like these graphics here, but I think I might just put it right here on this page. So what we're going to do when we put this in is we're going to put it up close to the edge up here so that it doesn't get caught up in the bending of the binding. All right. Let me go ahead and tie it so that it's done up. I think we're going to end up trimming some of that off. Let's just go ahead and do it now. Cannot pick things up anymore. Okay, so there's that. All right, so remember Wendy's trick of, I'm going to make it a pocket behind here. So I'm not going to put glue on this side, but I'm going to put glue all around the other three sides. So hold it at the top, open your glue, and give it a good little generous amount on the three sides. So down the side, across the bottom, up this side. All right. And then we're going to place it on close to the top because it barely fits. And then just hold it for a few seconds. And I'll do the same thing with the other book when it dries. All right. So now what we need to do is we make a journaling card to go in there. I have some file folders that I tea stained. Let me zoom you back out a little. So I tea stained these file folders. This is what they look like. So we're going to measure it and cut it to fit inside here. And we could measure with a ruler, but oh, why would we do such a thing? So just ripped off down the fold. So let's do it this way first. So there's the side. I'm going to give myself, oh, I would say a good 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. And there's the side there, another 1/4 of an inch. So there's the side. Make sure it's sort of straight. Give it a zip. Then this bottom part where the little fold marks are in the bottom of your folder, cut that off. All right. And let's check it out. I think our glue should be dry enough to see. All right, so whenever you're gluing something, and you want to check, use your ruler, go down in there, and just make sure you didn't get any extra glue, which I didn't. It should go down in nice. Come on, baby. Here we go. I might make it just a tiny bit more narrow. Now, some people like to have things that pop out just a little bit on the side of their journal. I do. So I'm going to cut this right to there. See, I got into glue. So I am going to cut it down just a little bit. This Fabri-Tac, in the first few minutes, few seconds, you can kind of use your finger and rub it like that. It's a little bit like rubber cement. It will kind of come off. So I am going to make this slightly more narrow so that it goes in and out nice and easy. Oh no, I think I cut my mark. Nope, there's my mark. Phew! And I'm going to make it just a tiny bit shorter. There we go. So here is what we're going to call our journaling card. And antique it up. So you can do it with straight corners like this, or if you happen to have a corner punch, you can round your corners. I kind of like rounding my corners, but like I said, you don't have to go out and buy everything all at once. So just give it a little extra prettiness. All right. So, oh, I like it. And it went in nice and easy. So, what are we going to do to put our file folder tab on? Well, you have lots of options. If you have a wonderful piece of lace, you could, you know, fold, let's pretend that this piece of cheesecloth was lace. You could put a little tab of lace across the top, sew it down, and you have a tab to pull it out with, having it be lace. You could use some of your seam binding. I have a punch that punches out these little shapes, and I really like it. And so that's all it is it looks like that. And this was a piece of tea-dyed file folder too. So let's give this a nice little antique all around the edges on both sides. Okay, and then it just goes across here and you glue it on. So there's that. There and there. You know, another thing that you could use, I don't see it right here right now, but I have a, right here, a big wad of tea-stained muslin. So another option for you would be to rip off a piece. That's too little. Oh boy. Tea-stained muslin. Like this. Make a nice little tab. And then just put one side on each. And then I would sew it. Sew it on across the top, and that would give you a really nice tab. So another option for you there. And then with your muslin, you could do this next step too. This is something that I see several of the craft ladies do, but I think Wendy does it the most, and I just think it's beautiful. So you take your crocodile, or whatever tool you have that can punch a hole. All right, and then you put in a brad, not a brad, an eyelet. All right. You can use the big ones or the small ones. I'm using a bigger one, so I need a bigger hole. There we go. And then you just smush it in. So there's that. And Wendy uses a lot of charms, and I don't have a terrible lot of charms. So I'm going to think of something to put on there. And you use these little bulb pins. Look like that. I bought these on Amazon, and I don't remember, but it was 1,000 of them for, I don't remember, like $6, something like that. And they came from China. It took a while to get here. So there's a lot of them in there. So then this will just attach on here. And we'll come up with something pretty to put on there. I just don't have it right now. So like that. And it's going to go down in here. Should have took the page out. Would have been easier. So there we go. So in our book, it will look like this. So we'll have this. We'll have a spot to journal here. Okay, and that's going to stick out into the side of the book just a little bit. See, and then whatever will dangle off of there will be there. And then we can open our book. And then we need to put some journaling paper in there. So this is some stationery that I've had for a really long time. Kind of seems appropriate for this journal. And so we can cut it down to make it fit, or we can just fold it to make it fit. I think what I want to do, I think I'm going to cut it to make it fit. And put one on each side. Wrong pencil. So there. I'll cut them both at the same time. So I just folded it in half, both sheets, because I know I'm going to have to cut the length down too. So we'll cut the length about here. Okay, I just put a piece of stationery that I've had for a long time in here. I just cut it down to fit. Place the paper in here. It's nice floral paper. Looks really nice. And I had to glue down some lace that had come up right there. So I'm going to put this in so when I close it, it doesn't get stuck. All right, I'm going to refold this up, retie it. All right. So in our book, this is what our signature looks like so far. Ugh, I've been taken over here. So our envelope, and now this envelope is right here. And I may end up moving this advertisement kind of competes a little bit with that. So let's just do it now. That looks much better. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to insert it in the other signature and make a pocket in the back and a journaling card. So you can see that the next time we get together. So you can see the finished product. So until next time, this was Cindy from Vintage to New. Bye-bye.